welcome to Lead Live, reminding you of your personal genius and how you think in order to actualize what you desire.
Hello. It is great to be with you always as the planet recovers and address the aftermath and even the current conditions related to COVID 2019 pandemic. I want to honor you and what you may have experienced over the last year and a half plus. And whether it's transition, the passing of loved ones, whether it is being in states of existence that were led to such high level of uncertainty, you wondered just when things were going to get back to so-called normal. Whatever the state was that you have been in and may still be in, I want to remind you that you get to leverage those experiences, the painful ones, the ones that were less painful, but a high level of uncertainty cause you great concern. You get to leverage them to actually begin to create more of what you want. I want to honor you wherever you're at. Some of you were able to get through this past year and a half or so with very little challenges, and blessings to you as well. You get to leverage whatever you experience as well. What I'm really doing is reminding each one of us of our brilliance, even in the face of trauma, great opportunity, and high, remarkable successes. Just remember your brilliance. And so when you think about the subject that we're going to talk about today, I want you to think, in a reflective way, in a joyful way, in a way that adds value to every cell in your body, where you just feel up, you feel lighter, you feel excited, or some sense of anticipation that adds value to your life. What is the topic today? Some of you know. It's part of the Wealth Equation series, and it's, are you imagining your retirement, preparing for your rewards? We're going to have this topic again, and Dr. Kwende will join us when he's back in town. Today, I want to focus in on two key aspects of it, and that is empowering the leadership mindset. And we have a strong understanding of each one of us that literally we can be the CEOs of our lives. And when we decide to take complete responsibility for self and leading our lives from the moment we put our head down, what we're thinking about, what we choose to prepare to dream about, in that comfortable, um, uh, all inspiring state to the moment we wake up in the morning with gratitude, expectations, plans, and actions throughout the day that gets us closer. Want you to think about your mindset. What do you think about? What are you allowed to enter your mind space at the conscious level? What are you experiencing at the subconscious level, which really affects the nature of how you focus, what you focus on? And then the next part is leveraging financial education. When we talk about preparing for retirement, we talk about what is this big fantasy goal that you may have. Hopefully, it's a goal worthy of you, an ideal worthy of you, not something that just simple that you've heard about and it is easy, unless that's all you want. But let me tell you, you get to dream big and you get to create big. It's all about what you choose. So when we think about literally preparing for this set of rewards, whatever the rewards set, we have to decide what rewards mean to us and what, in fact, are rewards to us. For one person, reward in retirement is being financially free and being able to go wherever he or she wants on the planet, wants to go wherever that individual wants to go. Another person is having the family be so healthy and happy and full of joy. And they think throughout the entire year how to make that even more continuous. For another person, maybe both for the former set of expectations. In addition, is literally helping individuals throughout their local community or perhaps society, or even more broadly, globally. Whatever it is that you want to experience when you get to that retirement space, whether it's at the age of 45, yes, you can retire early. For those of you who are thinking about it now and you're much younger, you can plan for retire at 45. What's this magical 65, 70, 72? Literally, it's all up to you. Or you can choose to retire at 65 or 75 or not at all. But as you age, ask yourself, what are the seminal rewards you want to experience? Yes, you can just work your entire life. And if working is living your passion, I say, wow, you are blessed. You're truly blessed. If you're working because you're chasing money, I say, hmm, breathe, reflect. I get it. But please ask yourself how you can take what you've been chasing and have that money work for you. In fact, that's what those who are doing exceptionally well, whether they're ultra wealthy, whether they are what we call rich, where they don't even think about money, the money is working for them and they're living on the passive income, or whether we're talking about someone who is, as they consider it, financially free because they have everything they need through when they expect a transition, whether it's at the age of 95, 100, 110, we don't know. We're living longer, thank goodness. Hopefully, you will live long as you want to live, able to experience your family's family, your family's family. You get my point. So let's get back to this notion of rewards. So, empowerment leadership mindset is critical to that, and having a solid financial education. So, we're going to expose you just to the tip of the iceberg today as I describe the following. So, I'm going to ask Jet, you're wonderful, you're in the background. Would you please put up the list of texts I'd like people to be aware of? We'll put that list of texts up again at the end. But when you look at this text, you see a number of items. You see The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Waltos. That came out in 1910. It's a very thin, very quick read. And it's seminal. In fact, it has led to movies, it's led to many books, literally over hundreds of books. That short read is empowering because what does it do? It helps us to understand the power of developing a vision. What else does it do? It helps us to go beyond that, to understand that willpower is not to be taken for granted. And will is one of our mental faculties. We've talked about mental faculties previously, tools that we use to change, to reestablish a different kind of subconscious that drives our behavior and leads to the results that we experience. So he was ahead of his time, arguably, or he was just in the right time. But that little thin book led to many people doing exceptionally well because we reminded them that they had the ability to imagine, to vision, and then they had willpower that they could exercise. Then to cultivate gratitude. I did say early when we wake up in the morning, hopefully we're in gratitude. Literally, even the challenges we're experiencing, if we can be grateful for them, because we may learn some things that we would otherwise not learn or be challenged to learn. And then receiving life abundance. That's the power of The Science of Getting Rich. I'm going to go down these books very quickly. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, after he interviewed in excess of 500 individuals among the wealthiest folks on the planet, and reportedly because of his association with Andrew Carnegie, he was able to have access to the wealthiest folks on the planet. And what he learned across the board, independent of their gender, although of course many were male, most were male, but independent of their gender, independent of their age, was that they had some similar kinds of things that they did, that they experienced, that are synergistic in what you find in The Science of Getting Rich. It's all about the power of visioning. It's about having a burning desire. It's about whatever that vision is. And it's about codifying that vision into a concrete goal, coming up with a plan and deciding and acting. And one thing that the wealthy, even now we find through research, have in common, or those who are successful. And we define wealth in terms of faith, family, fitness, finance, and fun, not one without the other. The one thing that they all have in common is that when they make a decision, they make it pretty efficiently, and they take forever if they ever change that decision. They take forever to even consider changing the decision. The inverse is true for those who are not doing as well as they'd like to do. They may speak a good game, but in reality, they're the ones to take a long time to make a decision, typically. And when they make a decision, they typically change it very efficiently. Now, that doesn't mean that if you take longer to make a decision, that you're going to change it quickly. No, no, no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what is highly uh, correlated with individuals who change their minds quickly and don't follow through is that they take forever to make a decision. Those who are making decisions more efficiently, they have spent time gaining insight. So when they make that decision quickly, they've done a lot of due diligence. They're not just saying, oh, I like this person, let me just go ahead and go with that. They've already read a lot. They've already have great counsel. So they're organizing, they're triangulating everything in their mind, if you will, in their computer brain. And they're saying, that is the right decision that aligns with my vision, that aligns with my concrete goals. And I'm ready to make a decision, take the action so I can get a different result. Voila, I'm closer to my dream. I'm closer to my vision. I'm closer to the concrete goal that I establish. And voila, the goal is actually achieved. Now, perhaps I need a new goal so I get even closer to that broader vision. Or I've achieved the vision, I'm still alive. Maybe I want to create a new vision and go through that process again. So, even more details is found in that book that's authored by Napoleon Hill. And that came out in 1937. There's different iterations of that, have been updated. But I would say if you can get the 1937 version, you get more of the essence of the man himself based upon what he had observed and captured. And then there's another book that I always reference to clients of mine. And most people have not heard about it. And that's the book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. This gentleman's a doctor, and he was what we call then, and some people even call now, plastic surgeon. So he'd take some of the most well-off individuals, the stars in Hollywood and all over the planet. They would go to him to get reconstructive surgery. They may even look good, but they wanted to look better, or they just they wanted their jaws changed, their nose changed, and generally the results were spectacular, not just good, they were spectacular. That's why the stars went to him. However, what he found is that literally, even though they looked like they say they wanted to look, only some individuals walked away happy. Within a month or so, a number of people were back where they were before they even had the surgery. So he recognized that it wasn't the outer, it was really the inner. That led him to really do more research on his clients and in the field. And he came up with this seminal book called Psycho-Cybernetics that has influenced many other books, many other practitioners, and definitely professionals like me. It says, really, you've got to change your mindset. And you can engage in certain practices, certain behaviors that ultimately lead to a shift in the way you see yourself. So the outer is really not that big of a deal. It's the inner that's powerful, the inner that is transformative. I remember years ago, and I've told a few people this, now it's going to be on air, that years ago, I thought my nose was too big. It was pug. And my brothers, at least a couple of them, used to joke and say, oh, you got a pig nose, you got a pug nose. And I wanted my nose to look like some of my brothers. They've got this broad Indian hump, I just, classic nose. And I thought it was just beautiful. They are beautiful. But what would I look like with their big nose on my face? I don't know. But then I wanted what they had. I didn't like what I had. I actually went to a rhinoplastic surgeon, and he did all this work and he showed me what I would look like. And I thought it would be wonderful. Luckily, I didn't do it years ago. I would have looked like who knows what. I would have been happy then, but then I would have done as Maxwell Maltz clients found is that I wasn't happy. It had nothing to do with my nose, had nothing to do with my cheekbones, which I always thought were too high, or my lips I thought were too big. Now I look in the mirror and I'm like, what was my problem? I look okay. And sometimes I look kind of cute. It took me what? I'm 60s, in my 60s to figure that out. The point is that we can do that wherever we're at, whether we're 15 years old, 18 years old, 40, 60, 80, whenever we can figure out that it's not the external that typically is our issue, it's the internal, how we feel about ourselves, how we perceive ourselves, and we can shift that. And what a number of these books that I'm referencing, as it relates to the capacity to shift the mindset, they literally say, try this stuff for no less than 21 days. I would say no less than 90 days, where it becomes a habit when you leverage the expertise and these tools and these texts. So I'm going to move very quickly because I want to get to the second part, which a lot of people really are here to hear about, to study. How can I retire and be happy and experience the fortunes in retirement? Well, this is a precondition, being clear about where you want to be and being clear about who you are and the inherent beauty of you, the inherent magnificence of you, the inherent brilliance of you. It has nothing to do with the external anything. I want you to hear that. We have a tendency of trying to appear as though we're something that we're not. But we don't know who we are if we don't do that internal work. So thus, I've recommended those initial books. Then there's another quick book I encourage people to read. It's The Acres of Diamonds. And why The Acres of Diamonds? Whatever iteration by Russell Conwell. I love the fact that he gives us three, and you can find these stories online. You can find them in other texts. But what he does, he went around, he gave well in excess of 10,000 presentations, literally during his lifetime, 10,000 educational sessions, and he referenced these three stories, if not all of them, at least two of them each time. And I won't go over all the stories, but the essence of it is that people had a dream, they had a vision, they had a goal, they had concretized it, if you will, and they were taking action, but they stopped right short of actually actualizing it because they had challenges. They came upon difficulties, or they just decided it's not possible. I think there's gold there. Everything in me tells me there's gold. My team and I have been fighting hard to get it. We can't get it, so it must not be there. That's a true story. The team left. The team that purchased the property, guess what they did? They hired experts, or the gentleman hired an expert who looked at the history of what the previous team had done, realized that they were just 3 feet away from gold. Wow. There's another example of some person who had actually studied minerals and other kinds of natural products. He was so learned that he was going to go find it, but he didn't realize he had it literally right in his backyard. I mean, so these stories abound. These are just 3 key stories. You and I live some of these stories. We're going after something, we're aggressive, and we tell some people, and unfortunately, that's part of the challenge sometimes. We tell the wrong people. People who love us, who care about us, who are like, don't do that, don't worry about that. It's not possible, it's hard. You can't possibly achieve that. And then that gets into our mindset, it changes our feelings, changes our behaviors, and then we kind of back off. Well, maybe they're right. I can't make $1 million in 2 years. Well, let me tell you something. I know many people have done it, and I could say much more. It's not that difficult. And what you learn in those initial texts is that when you have something that is desired by sufficient number of people, and you package it and you get it to them, they know you have it available and they need it. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be as simple as water that's supposed to be ubiquitous. The clean water is not ubiquitous. So you package it the right way, you can sell and you make millions literally in months. People packaged a rock a pet rock. People need something and you get it to them. You can literally overnight, but you got to do things in a way, and you've got to do things in a way that literally is synergistic with what you find in the text that I just mentioned, especially the signs of getting rich and think and grow rich. The formula is simple, folks. It's not that complicated. And do not let anyone tell you that it is. I'm a living testament to it. And I know too many people in my circle that are living testaments, and you probably do too. Think about it. When you wake up and you want to accomplish something, do you accomplish that something? You want to achieve a particular educational goal. Did you achieve it? You wanted to find the love of your life. Did you find him? Did you find her? You wanted to travel someplace. That was your big dream. You wanted to go to this particular country. Did you go there? You wanted to get that dream job. May not be dream now, but did you get that dream job? I want you to just remember, okay? Don't discount your experiences, honor them. And did you stop with a dream of yours because you heard the wrong messaging or because you experienced what we call the terror barrier, or you retreated for some other reason? Realize if that dream is still powerful, you're worthy. If it's worthy of you, you are worthy. Pursue it. Now, there are other books I want to reference. And I thank you so much, Tomoko. And what did Tomoko share? She says the money, wealth, life insurance is a game changer. I read it in 1 hour. And you're right. It's a short read, very short read, but my goodness, Jake Thompson makes it very clear what the corporations are doing, the banks are doing, the wealthy are doing, that you and I, the common person, can do too. But we don't know it. It's hidden in plain sight in books, folks. How many of us know about 401k? How many of us know about 403b? How many of us know about IRA? How many of us know about CDs? How many of us knows about banks? Let me ask you another question. How many of us know about IULs, Index Universal Life? Most of you viewing will probably say, Index Universal, never heard of it. And yet Index Universal Life has been around since 1997, implemented in 1998. It is one of the most powerful instruments we have in the United States, in Canada, and in territories of the United States. Index Universal Life. We're going to come back to that in a second. Okay. We're going to reference the financial pocketbook when we do. These texts and so many more we want you to read. So let me just make reference to the Patrick Kelly. How many of you heard of Patrick Kelly? This gentleman has taken his expertise and reduced down to a number of these are national bestsellers in their time and even now. Patrick Kelly came out with the Retirement Miracle. Simple, straightforward, powerful, eye-opening retirement book. We're going to come back to that. He also came up with Stress-Free Retirement. Listen, folks, you can do two major things. I don't want to keep you waiting. I want you to hear this. You can leverage Index Universal Life. You can leverage fixed index annuities. And my goodness, your life has already been reset in terms of moving towards a retirement that is stress-free, that is tax-free, especially the IUL. Okay? The IUL, tax-free. What does Patrick Kelly tell us? So, have you thought about the possibility of whether you're in retirement or because you've maybe decided not to retire, you just love what you do and that's awesome, but you want financial freedom? What are key things you want? You want tax-deferred growth. What else do you want? You want tax-free access during your lifetime, right? You want an income tax-free benefit that will pass on to heirs at your death. What about having a life insurance? Yes, most of us think about death insurance. So when we die, whatever our beneficiaries receive the results. But what if that life insurance is constructed in such a way that Doug Andrew and his sons brilliantly convey that they're not the only ones? My other mentor, Eric Olson, makes it very plain, and that is that you can literally accumulate cash in that index universal life in such a way where you have very little costs for insurance. You may have a lot of insurance, but they're the lowest cost insurance because you're placing most of your money into cash and you're paying for your life insurance. But here's the power. You get to draw out that money when you want it, whether you're retired or not. You can leverage it as a complement to your retirement, or you can leverage it as a complement to other things that we're going to get to in a second. So, what does this gentleman say? Patrick Kelly. He says, ask yourself, where can you put a lump sum of $1 million that has any tax advantage growth possibilities? If you come up blank, don't feel badly. When I asked that question to a room full of financial advisors, I have yet, even once, to have any individual give a single answer. This is a guy who's been in industry a long time. Listen, there's so many folks on whom my team and I rely for our financial education continuous, because as life and health insurance agents, as securities agents, as brokers, at whatever our various roles are, we're in continuous education because we want our clients, and for me with Lead Live, we want you to know the latest, the greatest, that constantly changes. As one of my mentors, Eric, says, people don't change, but the products do. So we have to be continuously educated so we can educate you. So he says, where can you put a lump sum of $1 million that has any tax advantage growth possibilities? Meaning that when you put the money that's already been pre-taxed, okay, you put it in there, any growth that's not been taxed will never be taxed. Well, there's only one option that he was aware of when he came out with the retirement miracle in 2011. And currently, it's the only option that's codified in the Internal Revenue Code, and that's Index Universal Life. That's what this broadcast is about in part. Now, let you know, we're going to have a follow-up session where we're going to go deep into that. Today, we're just going to touch the surface. But I want to tell you a few things. And before I do, I want to acknowledge some other things. In Tahamaki, one of my beautiful nieces. You're one of the most beautiful persons I know inside and out. Oh, okay. Alrighty. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you, my dear loved ones. I so love you too. Wow. Takes one to know one, to see one, and to experience one. And Tomoka says, I tend to listen more to people who have experienced success in the area I am pursuing. So on point. In fact, I know, Tomoko, we're part of the same broad team. We are about the business of leveraging people who've already done it, who've already demonstrated success, who are multimillionaires, who are billionaires, literally, and they are training us, okay? Those of us who are also in that same space, we're training each other. And those of us who've yet to even experience any of that, who are new to the game. The point is, you want to leverage people with the expertise. You want to leverage people who've done it and been successful. That's the power, because they can tell you where the quirks are. And they're not likely to lead you astray, especially if they have your best interest in mind. Patrick Kelly, The Retirement Miracle, opened my eyes. Everyone needs to read that book, changed her life. What the government and Wall Street are not telling us. Okay, this is money. This is money. And Raleigh he brings it home too. This is another book to read. You can't see it well. It is called The Power of Zero. It's a very quick read. And let me tell you, this provides a beautiful, this is a wonderful compliment from David McKnight to his wife. And it really, for all of us, he breaks it down in terms of the power, the history of finance in the United States of America that actually informs and helps individuals all over the planet to kind of think about what's happening in your own country. I know a number of people are viewing from the continent of Asia, Europe, of course, North America, as well as South America, in addition to the continent of Africa. So just recognize, while this is discrete to what's happened within the continental United States, you should leverage these because it may be applicable to you as well. So one thing that we know about in terms of the history of money in this country is that certain things were put in at a certain time for a particular reason. And they don't necessarily serve us now, but they exist. And so there's constant tweaks in order to ensure that they serve us. So when you think about retirement, ask yourself, what is it that I want to experience? Even if I don't physically retire, because I'm going to continue to give. And what is it going to cost me to experience whatever that is? That's what we mean by breaking down your goals into financial numbers. It's not about money as the ends, your goals, your vision, your fantasy dream. That's really what life is about. But these details literally require the financial backing for you to be there. You want to be free to do that? You need to have, in this context, unless and until things change, we need money in order to do a lot of things we want to do. We want to have that big house for our loved ones, our multi-generations, need to have the means to secure that home, however that manifests. And so we want you to take these dreams, whatever it is that you want to experience, the benefits, the rewards of retirement, and put a number associated with it. If it's travel, how much is it going to cost you to travel to where? If it is home, purchasing a house that uses home, maybe uses a business place as well for tax write-off purposes to leverage your dollars and let it really take you further, then how much it's going to cost you to purchase that home. Just literally break down everything you want to achieve into finite numbers. Then that's when you're going to get your literally your power. As I've been telling folks who are brilliant, smart, whether they are highly educated or they are street smart, I've been asking them, what is your ultimate goal? And you know what? A number of them have been very successful, even those who didn't so-called complete formal education, because they're highly educated. But many of them can't tell me what their ultimate goals are. Well, I said, have you achieved much of what you wanted to achieve? Well, I've done a lot. It's been wonderful. It's been a good ride. Or no, I don't even know. Oh, I know what I want now. Okay, how much is that going to cost? Cost. Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. In order for me to do that, I'm going to need to have this amount of money. I'm going to need to have this. Well, do you have it now? Well, one person said, oh, yeah, I have plenty of it. And he's going to be on this broadcast later this month. And he'll tell you that story. But most of them said, no, I have this. I've done very, very well. I don't have that. So we want you to reduce it down to amount of money. And then what we want you to do, we want you to read these texts, leverage us, leverage whoever you can leverage with the right expertise and knowledge to understand how you can build the base using particular instruments. I only gave you 2 examples. I gave you the Index Universal Life, which is absolutely remarkably powerful. Okay. And I gave you the fixed index annuity at the right level of fixed interest rate. You get to get the right kind of compounding, and that money will turn around and you will have no clue what you have. I want to give you one example. So let's say you get a fixed index annuity, and there are particular products that are hot right now. And I mean hot, with the right level of signing bonus. You'd be surprised. Okay, I just need you to understand that. Contact us if you want more information. Let me just say, so let's say you get a particular index and fixed index annuity. You get a signing bonus that basically takes care of your taxes, any taxes you have to pay because you're taking your money out of, whether it's a 401k, 403b, or IRA or whatever, it also takes care of any penalties that you may have, and then gives you some additional. So when you go into that annuity plan, you automatically go in whole with your entire principal. Okay. And then it's fixed literally. So you get to witness it do what we call the power of 72. Have you heard of that? Do you know the rules of money? There are three seminal ones. And one of the key one is the rule of 72, which we've talked about before here. But let's say you are 29 years old. Bless you. I wish I could remember 29. But you're 29. You are in a beautiful space. And you made a point to set aside $10,000. Well, you want that money to compound. So you think where most people put their money in the bank, that's rational. And the bank, if it's giving you any kind of return, maybe it's 1%. What does that mean? So you put it there, you have security, peace of mind, but you really want to get more than 1%. But you know it's there. And so then you begin to wonder because someone told you about inflation. And inflation today is 5% in the US. It was 4.2 just days ago. But as of June, now it's 5%. So you're losing money by having it in the bank. So that person says, okay, I'm 29. I just learned that I'm losing money. So what can I put it in? Oh, I want to put it in a 401. Okay, my employer makes a contribution. I want to take advantage of that. Wonderful. Smart idea. But what happened? What's the consequence of that? Well, only good things because I have the right company and likelihood of my money continue to go up because it's being reviewed on a regular basis. That's great. But my friend has told me about the horror stories. This is the 29-year-old, new in that business, heard the horror stories of individuals literally retiring, having a large amount of money, thinking that they had enough to retire to 90 to 95. And on the books, literally did. Market crashed several times. And so no longer do they have 90, 95 years worth of savings in their 401k. So they're devastated. They didn't have a backup plan. So this person is saying, I need a backup plan. And then that person understands that protection phase has a lot of holes in it. Because what happens when you pull your money out? Well, hopefully your taxes are less than what they are now. Well, do you know what this tells us? The power of zero. When several things. When Social Security was created, there's a thought that I had that I just lost, and I'm hoping it'll come back. But when Social Security was created, there were 42 people working to one person retire. So this person is thinking, I'm going to at least have Social Security. But then they read The Power of Zero and realized, 42 people working to one person retired. But now there's, just a few years ago, 2.8 people working to one person retired, less money going into Social Security. So even though I think somehow it's going to be retrofitted, it's going to be sustained, I have no guarantee, but also are my taxes going to remain what they are now? Might they go up? The person read this and found that what they thought were high taxes now are not the highest they've ever been. That's what I lost. And that is that taxes have actually been over 90% in this country. Even in my lifetime, in the 70s, taxes were over 70%. Some people don't know that. And thinking this discussion right now about taxes maybe going to 30, up 2 or 3 or 4%, when in fact, economists and other financial experts have been telling whether it's Democrat or Republican administration, it really doesn't matter. Folks, don't get caught up in that. They've been saying the government needs to raise taxes and by double taxes. So let's be very clear. Let's not assume that taxes will be lower when we get older because we no longer have the level of income. Let's not assume that we won't have the tax consequences that we have now. Well, we don't have the write-off. We might not have the write-offs then as we do now. We have house, a write-off, we have children. We won't have those things in theory when we get older, right? At retirement age. So there's a lot of discrete details that my mind is going through. I don't think it's necessarily helpful to try to compact this with all those details. But I want you to understand, as you plan for retirement, really plan with the right kind of financial information. Now, I want to show you something. So you've heard about the Retirement Miracle by Patrick Kelly, Stress-Free Retirement, really getting into the nuts and bolts about those two plans I referenced. And the Power of Zero, giving us a historical perspective, understanding that things have been worse and they can be worse. But more importantly, we don't have the kind of context that we had historically that led to the building of some of the infrastructure like Social Security. So we think it's going to be around, and I think it's going to be around, but at what cost? Because currently, we know in terms of the national debt, we're barely bringing enough money to pay for the interest on the national debt, let alone set aside more money for Social Security. So taxes or something has to give in order to sustain that part of the infrastructure of this country. Now let's go into the financial pocketbook. There's a visual I'd like to ask you to show, Jet. It's the visual that has literally, actually, I put it here. I can put this up. I don't know. Can people see that? Or do you have a better version of it? Jet. I think he does. I think that's a better version. And actually, if you take me off, they may see more of it. Wonderful. So when you look at this visual, what so many experts who've been in this industry for more than 40 years, and even those just 15 years or those less time like me, understand very well the power of the index universal life. There's different visuals that we can show you, but this one really hits home. That what it does, it provides a level of protection that people find well associated with substantive, valuable insurance products. So what do you see there? It is tax-free death benefit for beneficiaries because it provides a permanent life insurance. It bypasses probate, so there's no cost as it relates to this expense going directly to the beneficiary. And it has multiple settlement options. We don't need to go into that, but let me just say, it also offers, for many people, this is really big, living benefits. So if anything were to happen to the owner of this policy who's covered on this policy, whether it's critical, chronic, or a long-term care, it covers that. And likewise, terminal. And literally those resources come out of the death benefit. So you don't have to pay out of your pocket. But what most people don't know about is on the other side, and that is the savings. The savings is a big deal. You get to literally leverage an insurance instrument, universal life, that is tied to an index, whether it's Standard & Poor's 500 or Dow Jones, that those instruments are in the market. But the powerful thing is your policy, your policy would not, in the funds would not be in the market. They would be in the insurance company. Think of FDIC, insurance corporations, all coordinated to protect the banks. They also protect us with these insurance instruments. And so when we look at this in terms of savings, we see that we can place money, our money that we would normally place in a bank or perhaps in a 401k or in an IRA or some other instrument, and have it literally work for us. Leverage the notion of higher interest rate or even a fixed interest rate, because there's different kinds of IULs. They're not all the same and they're not all equal. You have to have the right person create the right instrument for you to ensure that your goal is achieved. And I have examples of individuals who've experienced both, the extreme. I have a dear friend who will go unnamed, who got an IUL, was not told how to leverage the IUL, put in a lot of money, and is not happy with what that individual has years later. Another person who was a colleague had multiple IULs and literally never has to work. Son never has to work, literally a day further in their lives because the power of what that individual did. I'm trying not to use gender or even names. But the point is, in this particular product, to simplify it, you can put your cash there and expect a certain rate of return. And it's like the best of fixed and variable without the downside of fixed and variable. Fixed account, you know what your interest return is going to be year to year. It's guaranteed. Variable, you don't know what's going to be year to year. It's literally tied to the stock market. The stock market goes up, hooray, that's awesome. Stock market plummets, as it has done too many times in the last 10 years alone, then that's painful, stressful. But if you're in it for the long haul, you may be able to wait it out for 4 to 5 or 6 years and recover. But the point is, do you fully recover? When you compare it to an IUL, where the furthest you'll go with index is zero. And so we say zero is your hero. Thus the book called The Power of Zero. Okay? Where you have your money in an account that is indirectly tied to the market. So you get to leverage the upside. You never experience the downside. And when your principal goes up, it's locked in. It can only go up and be locked in and be locked in. And if you're in an instrument that continues to grow annually at a comparable rate, you've got a compounding that is powerful. Think about someone who started with, we have this illustration, actually, a real illustration with real numbers that began at 1998 when the IULs were created. So an individual put 250,000 into, it could have been a mutual fund, a 401k, or IRA. They put another person, she put her 250 into an IUL. Between 1998 through 2020, what's the difference? In the market-driven account, there's 348,000 remaining after just the federal costs. That does not include any penalties if they tried to take it out before 59 and a half. It does not include state taxes. It's $358 plus $1,000. That's not bad. Still some savings, still some earnings, I should say, and still some results they can walk away with. But the IUL, woman who invested 250,000 in an IUL now has over $2 million. These are real folks, real numbers. So when we say we want you to think about preparing for rewards, we want you to be clear about what your priorities are, what brings you joy or would bring you joy. And if you don't know what that is, take your time and play around. Do what I did, for example, years ago. Just take out some paper and just kind of, whatever comes to mind that seems to bring you happiness, dancing, joy, travel or whatever, just put it down. If you want to, run 40 marathons, I think my niece Tamaki wanted to run 40 marathons before she was 40. I think she did it. I'm not certain. I have to ask her. But I mean, that is massive. That's awesome. Just put all those things down that really resonate with you. And then ask the question, okay, which ones have a cost associated in current dollars? And when I want to experience it, what would be the future dollars with inflation? So if it's $100 now, maybe $2,000 later in 20 years, or maybe it's 10,000. We don't know, but you can do the calculations with the right kind of financial education. Okay? Prepare for the wealth creation you want to experience. Prepare for the financial freedom you want to experience. But let me tell you, when you read these texts that we recommended, could you put the list up again for everyone, Jet? When you read just these texts, and I'm not even talking about a bunch of others that I've read, and this has been intentional. I love reading, so that's me. You don't have to love reading. That's why we have a number of these that are very thin, very quick reads. When you read just this short list, take a screenshot. When you just read this short list, if you've not been thinking in a strategic way, you will have helped to reprogram your mind to think more strategically. If you've not been experiencing the power of your own dollars, you will be predisposed to want to experience the power of your dollars. You worked for a dollar, you should be able to leverage that dollar as a dollar, not as 50 cents, not as 30 cents when you take it out because you tax deferred it and it was in an instrument that actually cost you more money when you took it out, or not even in the bank where you automatically lose it, where you place it someplace where the money works for you. That's what we want for you. We want you to actualize a level of financial health that allows for the rest of what we call wealth to be possible. Your faith, your family, your own physical well being, fitness, and the capacity to just have fun or to have fun continuously. Why not? Something that I was able to share with a member of my team and my CPA and others with him yesterday and members of his team. And that is, he said something that was powerful. I can't remember the exact words, so I won't try to paraphrase him. But I'll say that he reminded me that when we experience challenges, folks, I encourage us all to see them as opportunities, as opposed to immediately assuming that inherently there is a barrier. I cannot penetrate it. I must retreat. Let me go someplace else. That's what Acres of Diamonds is all about. These men retreated from their own dreams, from their own visions, and success was literally just feet away. Somebody was looking for diamonds. It was in his backyard, literally. He sold his property, went across the country to find gold when it was in his backyard, folks. When you imagine what you want, and then you allow yourself to prepare, because you open yourself up to people who have been successful doing what you want. If it's travel you want, you connect with people who've traveled, who understand the kind of inner workings of traveling. If you want that mansion that's surrounded by water and has trees or whatever, well, you talk to folks who already have those things and have secured them, or individuals who know how to do it. You don't go talk to someone who's never been there, doesn't understand it, right? I mean, you may want to share, or you just may want to protect that stuff. You want to write a book. You don't go to someone who's never written a book and say, oh my God, that's too hard. Well, there's many people who've written books. In fact, one of my previous mentors, she's helped a number of people become New York Times bestsellers. I told that to someone who was seeking to be a New York Times bestseller and said, well, that's not possible. But the evidence is there. And literally, they wrote their books in a weekend. Yes, they took maybe a month or so to edit it, but they wrote the book in a weekend, not over a year. The point that I'm making, when you have a dream, hold that dream very near. Ask yourself, how do you allow for it to just come to fruition? Yes, you want to concretize it in terms of a goal. I'm not even certain concretize is a word, but I use it all the time. And then, of course, you want to operationalize it in terms of particular plans. But don't make it so discreet or you're not open to possibilities, because you don't know how to get there if it's really a goal that you are imagining that's powerful that you've never experienced. So be open to the people with the expertise. Let them come to you. They may come through a podcast. They may come through a YouTube video that comes into your phone. I think about something and I pick up my iPhone, or actually it was the Android before, and I have something, it's like this phone has been listening to me. It's just made a recommendation. That's too surreal. Or I'm thinking about someone and I want to help that person, and the person calls or let someone else know they want to contact me. Interesting. Well, I call that more than interesting. I call that the power of you and I in actualizing and materializing. And that's what's in these first initial books, is the ability for you and each one of us to dream and to manifest those dreams. So I want you to remember that the ability of each one of us to dream and to manifest the dreams. And remember, we're doing it every single day. We're doing it every single day. So are you dreaming what honors you? Really? And when I mention those two instruments, I just want you to know there are other instruments too. And what separates those who literally want to achieve, but they don't have the right information, or they've not leveraged the right sources, or they're afraid to take the step because they've never been there before, they have no example of others going there. And those who are achieving, is that those who are achieving, even though they have fear, they break through their fears. Or even they may carry their fears with them, but they keep moving forward. Or they study. They continue to prepare themselves. They leverage others with expertise. They move, and they move forward in the direction that allows them to actualize their own initial imaginings. So it's not surprising when people have a beautiful visual board. I painted my walls using dry erase because I want to be able to write on my walls. And when I'm able to invite my nieces and nephews and godchildren over, they can just write on the wall with markers, dry erase markers. I put the dream there. I put the discrete goals. You can do the same thing for yourself. Make space for you. Make space so that you're living in retirement the way you want to live, not the way you feel like you have to. Too many of us see people working because they have to when they're 85, they're 90. They're barely able to move, folks. And then we see other people who are 85 and 90 and they're just kind of dancing it up, and they're on a cruise, and they're walking around the lake or whatever. Live into your dream. Don't let it be in the background. Live into it. Expect that you are the dream. I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful because you choose to leverage this space to remind you of your own personal genius. Remember your brilliance, your capacity to exceed even your own high expectations. Welcome you to rejoin us next week, Wednesday, 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, because this is always recorded, you can look at it anytime it works for you. Wado.